It's 7 o'clock on Monday, September 15th, 2025, and I call this regular city council meeting to order. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening, and if you would join me for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, it looks like everybody's here this evening except Councilmember Hall. If somebody would like to excuse Councilmember Hall.
Make a motion to excuse Councilmember Hall.
Second. Yeah.
So the motion has been made by Councilmember Slater and seconded by Councilmember Cedar to excuse Councilmember Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. I'd like to note that Director Madden and Director Stallnecker, Director Robeck, and Chief Hernandez are with us this evening. Next, we'll move on to citizen participation. If there's anybody who would like to speak, they'll need to sign up on the sheet.
No speakers tonight.
No speakers. So we will move on to additions and deletions. Are there any requested additions or deletions to the agenda? All right, and we will move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull any items off the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So it has been moved by Councilmember Slater and seconded by Councilmember Peretti to pass the consent agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I just had a question on
Oh,
it.
okay.
That's why I had my hand raised. as
Sorry,
you got
sorry.
to it and so forth. Besides being the smallest one I think I've seen in years, just curious, Bonneville Power, and I know the rates, or the monthly power rate. That's back, that was back for July?
Yes, that's correct. Those are automatically withdrawn from our account. So I believe they bill at if I remember correctly, they bill at the end of the month, basically for the previous month, and then it's withdrawn on approximately the 8th of the following month.
All right, so it can run into a month and a week or so before the bill is paid. I just never noticed the difference between the claim day, July 2025. So it can take a month or a month and a week or so forth to do that. I've never noticed that before, so I was curious. Thank you.
And seconded by Councilmember Peretti to pass the consent agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Now we'll go to the regular agenda. We have 2 discussion items and one action item. So we'll go on to the first item, which is 6A. It's the first read of ordinance 2122-25, and it's an update to the comprehensive plan. And I will turn the floor over to Planning Manager Stallnecker.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, or acting interim, what are you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council? Apologize. Yes, so basically a community can, this is, I'll pull back, can once a year update their comprehensive plan. As you know, we did our full periodic update last year with the actual approval happening in January. There's just 2 things that we are bringing forward for updates this year. It has been through the Planning Commission and they have made their recommendation. The first is just to keep the 6-year capital improvement project and funding source figures up to date. And so currently what is here shows some red lines. I've worked with Public Works Director Dustin Madden. There's a chance that those numbers will be updated one more time before the next meeting when we actually ask for approval, just to make sure we have the most current. But I believe those are just about updated correctly. And then the second part is just a change to the map related to the East Pierce Fire and Rescue. There, we need to update the comprehensive plan map to show that it is going to be changed to community facilities. We were originally planning to do it as part of the periodic update, but since we were still studying to see if there would have been a joint facility, we had held off. So now that we know for sure there's no joint facility, the proposed would change the areas on 12. It zoomed in and shows you what areas would change to community facilities. When we discuss the zoning, we will discuss the second half of that is to make sure the zoning matches. So those are just the two recommended changes to the comprehensive plan for this year, if there's any questions.
Councilmember Cedar?
Thanks. Thanks, Director Stallnecker. Were there any other changes that were considered and rejected?
Not for the comprehensive, no, not for this year.
How did these two, I mean, obviously the East Pierce Fire and Rescue seems pretty straightforward. I mean, I guess I'm wondering, like, how did you decide what to consider a change to? You know, what's the criteria to bring it forward?
Yeah, so we didn't have any private requests, so that's the first thing. If anyone, a private property request would come in, I think between February and March, we didn't have any of those. And then staff, I just kind of took a look through. From my past experience, it always seemed important to keep the 6-year transportation updated because those are related to grants and stuff. And so I didn't see anything else that I felt had been brought up in any conversations that needed to be updated. So those were the two things that I brought to the Planning Commission.
I appreciate that. And having done a lot of work on the comp plan in the last year, it seems like common sense changes. So thanks.
Councilmember Slater?
I noticed there's a lot that's marked in yellow. Is that not part of East Fire Rescue's
So
property?
the red and the yellow is what the comprehensive plan designation is currently. So part of the red means it's currently zoned town center,
Okay.
and the yellow means it's residential. The blue indicates that it will become community facilities because those are all the parcels that East Pearson Fire and Rescue has purchased. And that's what they don't need any more than that.
Is there a residential on that property, a building?
I believe they have applied for or will be applying for a demo permit for that one.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Anyone else?
So it's planned to come back at the next meeting for public hearing and possible action. So then that leads to the next item,
Item 6B.
which is the second half, for the most part, is kind of, there are kind of big zoning update, different topics we have brought to council, planning commission, council for approval. This is sort of a grouping of very small things that either tied to the comp plan change or are more just a little bit of correction or clarification staff requested based on interacting with possible residents or possible developers. And so in essence, there's 5 things. The first is with the new addition of accessory dwelling units, staff has had conversations with people who are trying to clarify, can I bring in a tiny home? Can I use my RV? That kind of thing. And so staff requested that we add a little bit, which if you look on page 33 in red, actually it should say, basically we're adding a little bit to the accessory dwelling unit definition. And actually, based on, I submitted this before I finished with the planning commission, but the recommendation is to add, and meets all of the codes of a permanent structure, including a permanent foundation, which matches what we have for single family. So like if you were going wanted to, you were allowed to have a manufactured home on a lot, but we require you to put it on a permanent foundation. And this would then match that yes, if you could meet, you could bring in a pre-factory built home if it meets the standards of a permanent structure, whether that's the IRC or the state does, L&I has their own licensing, and you have to put it on a permanent structure. You can't wheel it in and wheel it out. So that was requested, including a permanent foundation was added by the planning commission, which is great. That makes it even clearer. And then basically two things we are recommending that we add back to the use table. The one is that fire facilities, we don't specifically list that in the use table. So the recommendation is to list it as a conditional use permit to be allowed only in the community facilities zone. What the conditional use permit is says, yes, it's allowed, but it does have to have a neighborhood meeting. It does have to have a public hearing. So it gives, because it is enough different of a use that has special circumstances, that gives the public and staff and agencies the ability to add some extra conditions that we anticipate would be needed for something like a fire station. So that's the recommendation there. This one's more of just a correction, which so far I've only found a couple of corrections with the big update we did, so I'm feeling fairly okay with that. Is that we would request that and the recommendation from the Planning Commission is to add back vehicle repair as an allowed use under business. We have vehicle repair in business area already. Business is only the area that is up along 99, so it's very appropriate for it to be in that area. And then just a clarification in the sign section. So basically on private property, we say a temporary sign saying the same thing has to basically be 100 feet apart on the same property. We didn't really say that for in the right of way, which I think was the intent. So the idea being that in, the right of way, if your property is 75 feet, you can have one sign that says that has one topic. If it's 150 feet long, your property, you can have two signs. Now, again, if your property is 75 and you have a sign that says my garage sale is coming on this date, and your neighbor has the same garage sale sign, you're on different frontages, you're fine. So hopefully that made sense. So again, it's just sort of mimicking what we already say for private property onto the right of way. It just keeps people from putting 5 signs or 10 signs or 100 signs all back to back. If they say different things, then that's fine. And then obviously with the map, the same change on the zoning map to match the comp plan map. You can see the zoomed in on 34, same idea. It will become blue, which is community facilities. So again, open to questions. The plan would to bring back these as well in October for the public hearing and action.
Yes, Councilmember Strader.
You mentioned that you could bring something in, and as long as it had a permanent structure underneath it, it would be okay. So my question is, does that mean I can bring in a trailer, and as long as I put in a permanent structure, I could use that?
It also needs to meet the, so it says all the codes of a permanent structure, including a permanent foundation. So it really helps clarify. So an RV would not, it doesn't meet the building codes for permanent structure. It's specifically when they give it, when they certify it. So like LNI certifies it, or whoever's doing the certification, it's certified as a recreational vehicle, so it wouldn't be allowed. There's a bunch of tiny homes that are sort of in between, where their certification might meet the standards of the building code, but it's still on wheels, which makes it sort of portable. So our saying is they would have to demonstrate that it both meets a code of a permanent structure, not a temporary RV structure, and then they would have to come in and put it on a true foundation.
Okay, well, it'd be my opinion that we don't want trailers popping up in residential or motor homes, and I would hope that we could specify that in the language of this.
And that's what this is doing.
Yeah,
Is saying it has to meet the codes of a permanent structure. And like I said, if you, like LNI or the factories, they get certification as a temporary RV structure. And that's what RVs are licensed as and certified as. Tiny homes can sort of blend that. They can get certification more as a permanent structure. We want to add that then they do have to have that, and they have to have, or if it's a module home or whatever. So an RV wouldn't be able to just by having a foundation. They wouldn't be able to meet the other parts of the standard.
yeah, that's my
Yep.
point. I don't think that's what the city is looking for, and I'd like to make sure
Yep.
that that's the way the language is written, so. Thank you. Well, can you give an instant, what are the difference, why it's, other than the licensing fee? Is that the only difference that makes it difference between being a permanent structure for the
So
code?
the easiest permanent structure, obviously, is that you build it to you come, you get the permits, you build it to the standards of the International Residential Code. If someone's building an accessory dwelling unit, they're going through our process, same like you'd go through a house. There are manufactured homes, there are modular homes that meet the definition of a permanent structure. And as long as they come in, put them on a permanent foundation, they meet our code. So what we're saying is you can have a tiny modular ADU, but you can't take, in essence, this is basically saying you can't argue that your RV is a permanent structure because you're not meeting those definitions.
Could you remind me, what's the smallest an ADU can be?
I think ours says 300.
300 square feet?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Peretti?
So I'm understanding this because a permanent structure, we have regulations under the building code about 2x6 construction to be able to suffice a certain R level of insulation and everything else. So I'm struggling with how a 2x4 or even a 2x2 construction in some modular homes would be able to be a permanent structure because they do not meet the UBC on building code. Is that correct?
And that's, I guess, if it went through our coding, no. Like I said, I know LNI, so I did this sort of deep dive into tiny homes and sort of modular homes because I had a resident who was disagreeing on my interpretation. So basically, if LNI certified it as a permanent structure, not a RV license, then we would say that's fine as long as you put it on a permanent foundation. There may not be any that are at that size right now that would qualify for that.
My understanding, there wouldn't be because of the UBC code on when you stick build a building, what you have to have as R level and everything else in wall structure.
Yeah, so, there are module ADUs you can buy similar to that you can buy modular homes that meet all of those codes. We're just not the ones licensing them.
Right.
Because they come licensed from whoever's doing those inspections in the factory. So in essence, this is saying it has to meet those standards. And they have to come and demonstrate to us that it has met those standards. And then they can put it on a foundation.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right.
Thank you very much.
We'll now move on to our final item for the evening, and that is item 6C, which is Resolution 25-1989, surplus of public works vehicle. Director Madden will provide a review of this agenda item, and following his review, I will need a motion to open the floor for discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. The item before you tonight is a request for permission to surplus a 2006 Dodge Charger. This Charger is currently at 105,000 miles plus, and we are no longer able to acquire replacement parts for this vehicle. And so the item before you tonight is permission to surplus. Chief, this was a PD vehicle, and so it's run its course through the city of Milton. Yes, recommended action per staff is to surplus and continue to upgrade our fleet.
Councilmember Peretti?
I move to approve Resolution 25-1980, declaring 2006 Dodge Charger, VIN number is noted, as surplus equipment and authorizing disposal.
Second.
So the motion has been made moved by Councilmember Peretti and seconded by Councilmember Whalen to move to approve Resolution 25-1989, declaring 2006 Dodge Charger VIN number 2B3KA 43H16H 456514 as surplus equipment and authorizing disposal. Councilmember Peretti, would you like to speak to your motion?
I don't think there's much to add to that. It is an older vehicle, and these are things that we do periodically, so I don't have any more comments from that.
Councilmember Whalen?
Thank you. Appreciate seeing this. Appreciate seeing the age of the vehicle, the time spent through different agencies of the city and so forth. What is the anticipation of what type of vehicle purchase will replace this? Another pickup truck or
So the car's current use was an admin vehicle for operations. We've since sent one of our admin vehicles from up here down there, and the police department was kind enough to dedicate one of their additional vehicles, one of the old Kias, to Public Works. And so we're shuffling cars for admin purposes. And for the most part, our admin cars are retired police vehicles.
so the next one to come in replacing this one might be another police vehicle? Or is it going to be a new purchase of a sedan, Kia, or what's on the mind?
Yeah, for this purpose, for administration use, I think we'll continue to work on retired PD vehicles. If and when those are not available, we could look at a small pickup truck. But this allows us to put the majority of our fleet replacement into actual service vehicles. So F-350s, F-550s.
That's a good program. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilmember Strader?
Did you say you can't get parts for a 2005 Dodge Charger?
2006, yes.
2006?
They've discontinued it, and they're not factory parts.
Oh, okay, very good. Thank you.
Anyone else? So it has been moved by Councilmember Peretti and seconded by Councilmember Whalen to approve Resolution 25-1989, declaring 2006 Dodge Charger, the number enclosed, as surplus equipment and authorizing disposal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Anybody in the audience want to speak on the? All right, now we move into council reports. I have nothing tonight. Councilmember White? Nothing for me, thanks. Councilmember Peretti?
Nothing from me.
Councilmember Cedar? Councilmember Strader?
Nothing to add.
Councilmember Whalen?
Yes, I have one question. On Milton Way, I know we've done a lot of reshaping of the corner by the church. And the line of sight is much improved, much improved. But there's a branch of one of the trees that sits behind one of the signs, and I can't tell you which one it is right now, and it's kind of obstructing the one next to it. I think it's a new sign about lightage. So it's just a little bit, it would be nice to see if it should be cut back to clear that line of sight.
We'll take care of that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Thank you.
Now we're on to director reports. Director Madden?
Yes, I just wanted to update council that thank you for all the questions and the in-depth discussion from last week's study session. Those full reports will be coming to you later this week. I know we promised to get those over to you. We have a meeting with the consultant tomorrow. After that meeting, we'll be in a position to forward those out to council. Thank you for your patience.
Director Stallnecker?
Just letting you know that we had a meeting with Sound Transit, Federal Way, and WashDOT and Pierce Transit. Today, this was our, we're basically doing 3 in-person meetings with those groups as we talk about how the Tacoma Dome link extension will affect 99. And how we can make sure that we're all coordinating, we're all in this, having the same plan. I think today's was really productive of looking at what we're all going to want for design, shared use paths, landscaping, what are the different options, so that everyone can kind of be on the same page. And so we hosted today, we will be at Pierce Transit. Next month, we were at Federal Way last month, so. This was a good meeting.
Director Robeck?
No comments.
Chief?
I was just going to bring you up to date. Did talk to Haney, and he still is planning on being back in March next year. So we hope that he will make it back. And update on Officer Wilcox, he's still going to be out until October, and he'll be reevaluated. And so we're hoping to bring him at least light duty, but we're still looking at November to him returning to full duty status. We're also seeing an uptick in stolen cars again, and DUIs and speeding. So keep your head on a swivel.
Does that include F-150s?
Yes, actually, it is one of the most common stolen vehicles.
Anything else this evening? Seeing that all agenda items have been concluded, I adjourn the meeting at 7:28 p.m.